Hello everyone, Namaste and welcome. This is your CSR, CS Rajesh with a new video. In this video, we will discuss section number 149, subsection 6 of the Companies Act 2013. Section number 149, subsection 6 of the Companies Act 2013 provides the provision with respect to appointment and qualification of independent director. So, to become an independent director of a company, the proposed person should satisfy certain conditions prescribed in the Companies Act. We can classify these qualification requirements given in the Companies Act into three categories. The first category of qualification requirements are applicable for the person who is proposed to be appointed as an independent director. The second set of qualification requirements are applicable to the relative of the person who is proposed to be appointed as an independent director. And the last set of qualification requirements are applicable for both the person who is proposed to be appointed as an independent director as well as to his relative. So, only if he satisfies all these conditions, then he can be appointed as an independent director. So, in this session, we will discuss this qualification requirement in detail, and at the end, we will solve some practical questions to understand these concepts in detail or to get some conceptual clarity, because a knowledge without a practice is of no use. So, let's start with the qualification requirements of an independent director. The first set of qualification requirements, as I said, it is applicable to the proposed person. So, the first requirement is that independent director means other than managing director, old-time director and a nominee director. So, the proposed person shall not be a managing director, old-time director and a nominee director. And the second requirement is that he shall be a person of integrity, expertise and experience, like parampara, pratishtha, anushasana. In the same way, the proposed person should be a person of integrity, possess relevant expertise and experience in the relevant industries. For example, if a person is proposed to be appointed as an independent director of a medical company, then he is expected to have expertise in any of the field which will add value to the business of medical industry. But if a person is having expertise in aerospace engineering, will it add any value to the business? No. Then he cannot be appointed as an independent director. So, he is required to have the integrity, relevant expertise as well as the experience. And the third condition is that he is or was not a promoter of the company or holding company, subsidiary company or its associate company. This is the third requirement to become independent director. So, the proposed person should not be or was not a promoter of the company or its holding company, subsidiary company or associate company. Not only this, he should also not a relative of whom? Relative of promoters or directors of the company or its holding company, subsidiary company or associate company. This condition is condition, means what if he was a relative of director, then he is not disqualified. So, only when if he is a director, if he is a relative of a director or a promoter, then he is not qualified to be an independent director. For example, let's say Anushka is not Anushka, okay, Anushka is the director of a company. Director of which company? Let's say XYZ company. Director of XYZ company, and Anushka's husband is Mr. X. Now they got divorced. X is no more a relative of whom? Relative of Anushka. Now, can X become independent director of XYZ company? The answer is yes, because the law provides that he is not a relative or promoter or director of a company. He was a relative, but he is not a relative now. So, he can become independent director. This is the one more condition to become what? Independent director. That is, he should not be a relative of promoter or director of the company or its holding company or subsidiary company or its associate company. Next one is most important. He has or had no pecuniary relationship. What is pecuniary? Nothing but a monetary relationship, a monetary or a business relationship, other than by way of what? Remuneration as such director. Means once you become independent director, you will be getting remunerations in the form of sitting fees as well as commissions. That is allowed. Other than that way, you are not expected to have any pecuniary relationship with the company in the current year as well as in the preceding 2 financial year. In the last 2 financial, if you had any pecuniary relationship, then you are disqualified to become independent director of the company. Now, what is this? What is the limit for this pecuniary relationship? The law prescribes 10% of his total income as the pecuniary limit. But however, while counting this pecuniary limit, you should not consider any transactions which are done in the ordinary course of business at an arm's length basis. And what is arm's length basis? Means the company is charging a price which is charged to the any strangers or an outsider. Then it is considered as what? Arm's length basis. Then he should not be counted for the purpose of calculation of this limit. Now, for example, let's say X is the person. He have a transaction with the company. What transactions? Let's say he purchased raw materials. What materials? Raw materials from the company or its holding company or subsidiary company. Raw materials worth of how much? Let's say 1 lakh rupees. Worth of how much? 1 lakh rupees. 1 lakh rupees. So now, if these raw materials are purchased at an arm's length basis, let's say company is charging the same price even to an outsider, same price, that is 1 lakh rupees itself, then this transaction shall not be counted. It is not considered as pecuniary transactions. Only if it is not at arm's length basis, only if it is not in the ordinary course of business, then it is considered as pecuniary transactions and the limit is 10%. Less than 10%, you can still be qualified as independent director of the company. Only if it goes beyond 10%, then he is disqualified to be an independent director of the company. The second set of qualification requirements are applicable to the relative of person who is proposed to be appointed as an independent director. The first condition is that the relative of the proposed person shall not be holding any security or interest in the company or its holding company, subsidiary company or associate company in the current financial year or in the preceding 2 financial years exceeding 50 lakh rupees or 2% of the outstanding securities of the company. So up to 50 lakh rupees it is allowed, up to 2% it is allowed, beyond that it is not allowed. If beyond these limit, if the relative of a person is holding securities, then the proposed person is disqualified. Second thing is indebtedness. If the relative of the proposed person has taken any loan from the company or its holding company, subsidiary company or associate company in the current financial year or in the preceding 2 financial year exceeding 50 lakh rupees, then disqualified. Within 50 lakh rupees, qualified. And the third condition is that giving guarantee or security. If the relative of the proposed person has given any guarantee or security to the loan borrowed by an outsider or a stranger up to 50 lakh rupees, no disqualifications. But if it is beyond 50 lakh rupees, then the proposed person is disqualified to be an independent director. And the last condition is an aggregate of above 3 transactions. If the relative of the proposed person along with security holding, along with loan amount and security given, if this combination of all these things exceeds 2% of the turnover of the company, the amount exceeds 2% of turnover of the company or total income of the company, then he is disqualified to be an independent director of the company. Okay. Then next set of conditions are applicable for whom? Both proposed person as well as his relative. If the proposed person or his relative hold or held the position of what? KMP, key managerial person, which includes CEO, then managing director or whole-time director or any of these persons, then CFO, then company secretary. If the person has held any of those KMP positions in the current financial year and the preceding 3 financial year, then he is disqualified to be an independent director, either himself or his relatives. But there is an exception. If the relatives are employees in the preceding 3 financial year, then he is not disqualified. But in the current financial year, disqualified. So it means If the proposed person is a KMP, disqualified. If he is an employee, disqualified. Proposed relative is a KMP, preceding 3 years, disqualified. Current year, disqualified. But if the proposed person's relatives are employees in the preceding 3 financial year, then qualified, not a disqualification. But if they were KMP, then it is disqualified. So there is an exception given. So if the relative of the proposed persons were holding the position of employee, then there is no disqualification. Preceding how many years? 3 years. Next one, he is or has been an employee, either he himself or his relatives were an employee or a partner or a proprietor in a CA, CS or CMA firm of the whole which conducts auditing or provides services to the company or its holding company, subsidiary company or associate company. In the preceding how many years? 3 financial years. Then he is disqualified to be an independent director. Second, one more criteria is that if the person himself or his relatives were or are a partner, proprietor of a legal firm which is providing a legal consultation to the company or its holding company, subsidiary company or associate company, and that legal firm, consultation firm, receives 10% of their income. How much? 10% or more of their turnover, receipts. Then that person is what? Person is disqualified to be an independent director. Next one, total voting power. If either himself or through his relatives, if together they hold 2% or more of voting power of the company, then such person is disqualified to be an independent director. And the last criteria is that if the proposed person is a CEO or director of an NGO, either the proposed person or his relatives are CEO or a director of an NGO, that NGO receives 25% of its receipts from the company or its holding company or its subsidiary company or associate company, then the proposed person is disqualified to be an independent director. Or what if that NGO in which that proposed person is a director and manager is controlling more than 2% of the voting power of the company, then the person is disqualified to be an independent director. So these are the criteria or qualification prescribed in the Companies Act to become an independent director. Such other qualification means he is a person, he should be having a relevant expertise in the sales, marketing, law, management, technical operations, corporate governance, and all these areas. So any person who satisfy all these criteria can become what? Can become an independent director. So let us get some more clarity on these topics with the help of a question and answers. Let us solve these questions. Quick yes or no questions. Okay. Are you guys ready? Let's start. CSR Limited is a subsidiary of which company? Anushka Limited. So Anushka is the holding company. CSR is the company. Proposes to appoint a person as independent director of the company. Further, X company is the subsidiary of CSR Limited. X company is the subsidiary of which company? CSR company. And Y company is the associate of CSR. So we have a CSR company, it is a company. Anushka company is the holding company. Then X company is the subsidiary company. And Y company is the associate company of CSR company. So now there is a proposal to appoint a person as ID of CSR company. Let us solve this question to get the conceptual clarity. First one, can we appoint a MD, whole-time director or nominal director of CSR Limited as a independent director? The answer is no. First qualifications, a person independent director means other than full-time director, managing director and nominal directors. Answer is no. Promoter of CSR Limited, promoter of a company? No, not qualified. Promoter of Anushka Limited, that is holding company? No. Promoter of a company or its holding company, subsidiary company, associate company, all are disqualified? No. Promoter of Y company? Answer is no. Associate company also not allowed. Was a promoter of CSR Limited? The answer is no, because is or was not a promoter of the company. Relative of promoter of CSR Limited? The answer is no. He shall not be a relative of promoter or director of the company or its holding company, subsidiary company or associate company. Next one, relative of directors of Y company? The answer is no. Next one is for pecuniary remit. Mr. Raju is having the following transactions. Sitting fees not counted, it is exempted. Commission based on profit, it also part of remuneration, not counted. Reimbursement expenses, not counted. Purchase of raw materials for his business worth of 1 lakh at arm's length basis in the ordinary course of business, not counted, it is exempted. Purchase of goods from Y company worth of 1 lakh, the price charged to the public is 1 lakh 50, less than the price charged to the outsider, means not at arm's length basis, pecuniary transaction. And total income of Raju is how much? 10 lakh, and he purchased goods worth of 1 lakh 50. Is it more than the percentage prescribed? Is it more than 10%? Yes, because it is coming around 15%. What is allowed as per law? Only 10% is allowed. So because he is having a pecuniary transactions worth of more than 10%, then he is disqualified to be an independent director of the company, not allowed. Mr. Raju is having a franchisee business. No, he has a connection with the business. Answer is no. Mr. Raju's wife is holding 3% of debentures of the companies. Relative of a person proposed can hold up to how much? 2% of securities. The answer is no. Raju's wife is holding shares worth of 51 lakh rupees. What is the value of shares allowed? Only 50 lakh rupees, right? How much is holding? 51 lakh rupees. Answer is no. Raju friend is holding 3%. Friend is not a relative. So Raju's friend can hold how much? 3%. Allowed hai? Yes, he can be independent director. Raju's wife has taken a loan of 40 lakh from CSR Limited. The answer is yes, allowed. Why? Because limit is 50 lakh rupees. Raju's brother has given guarantee to CSR Limited for a loans advanced by the company to Mr. Stranger. What is the amount? Amount is not given here. So we will assume it is less than 50 lakh. So it is allowed. Mr. Raju's wife having the following transactions. She is holding shares worth of 10,000, guarantee worth of 20,000, borrowed loan worth of 30,000. In total, combining all these transactions, she is holding how much? 60,000 worth of transactions with the company. Turnover of the company is 10 lakh. So is it more than 2% of turnover of the company? The answer is yes. It is coming around how much? 6%. Because the relative of the proposed person is holding more than 2% of the pecuniary transactions, then he is not qualified to be an independent director. Mr. Raju's wife was Raju was a KMP of the company 4 years before his appointment. Allowed. He can be independent director. Why? Because law prescribes only preceding 3 financial year. Raju was an employee of the company in the 2 years before his appointment. Raju was an employee, not allowed, because he shall not be an employee or KMP of the company current year as well as preceding 3 financial year. Raju's wife Radhika is an employee of the company. Can Raju's wife Radhika be an employee of the company? The answer is yes. Law says if she is employee in the current year, the answer is no. No, she cannot be employee in the current year, but she can be employee in the preceding 3 financial year. That is allowed. Raju's wife Radhika was an employee of the company in the last 2 years. Is it allowed? The answer is yes. She can be the proposed Raju can be an independent director. Exemption is there. Friend of statutory auditor of the company, not allowed. No. 1 second. We missed one question. Spouse of secretarial auditor of the company. The answer is no, because relative is a partner of CS firm, not allowed. Friend of statutory auditor of the company. The answer is yes. Friend is not a relative. Partner of an advocate firm which is receiving 11% of its receipt from the company. Answer is no, because maximum is 10%. The spouse of independent director. The answer is no, because the person is already director of a company, ID of a company. ID's relative cannot be an ID of the company. The last one. Raju and his girlfriend Radhika holds 1.9% and 2%. Girlfriend is not your relative. So together and they are not holding how much? 2% or more. So only holding how much? 1.9% allowed. Yes. Next question. Raju is a CEO of an NGO which receives 25% of its receipt from CSR Limited. Answer is no. Only 20% is allowed. Raju is the CEO of an NGO which is holding 2% of voting rights of CSR Limited. Not allowed, because it is having 2% of voting rights in the proposed company. Raju is the director of an NGO that receives 25% of its receipt from the promoter of CSR Limited. It receives 25% of receipts from the promoters of which company? CSR Limited. Is it allowed? Not allowed. The answer is no. So these are the few questions to get a conceptual clarity. Please go through it one more time, the notes of independent director as well as this question. You will get the better clarity with respect to qualification of independent directors. And one more requirement is that these qualification criteria should be disclosed by the independent director himself. He has to give a declaration in the prescribed form stating that he satisfies this qualification requirement. So to get the copy of these notes as well as the questions, I will give a link in the description. You can drop a message. I will be happy to share these notes to you guys, which will give a better clarity on the understanding of qualification of independent director. That's it in this video. See you guys in the next video with one more topics. Until then, keep learning law. Thank you very much. Take care.